Hello and welcome to this next installment video of looking at Zscaler Experience Center and how it relates to the current console. Now the first thing you'll see here is I am already logged into zIdentity, and in order to access the Zscaler Experience Center you will need to have your Zscaler tenant migrated over to zIdentity. It is a prerequisite to get access to Experience Center, and if you haven't done that by now, I have a video that shows you the process of doing that, or you can contact Zscaler support or check our help document. You can access your Zscaler Internet Access tenant from zIdentity. You can also access Experience Center from here. And Experience Center, as a reminder, is the one-stop shop for all of your Zscaler administrative needs. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about SSL inspection. Now, this should be familiar to Zscaler administrators. This is your Zscaler Internet Access console, and there are two parts where the SSL inspection piece is requisite. The first one is going to be over here under Policy, and then SSL inspection. You'll see here that there are a number of SSL inspection policies already configured here. So we have rules for things like inspect non-Office 365 file shares, inspect some Office 365 traffic. And if I look at any one of the rules here, you can see it does exactly that. So for this particular rule, I have URL categories. These are predefined categories or custom categories as well. And also predefined cloud application types, things like Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, and the like. If I scroll down, I can see that the action here is to inspect that traffic using the default Zscaler Intermediate CA certificate. So this is all a good practice to be able to inspect that Office 365 traffic. And these are your SSL inspection policies under Policy. Now, if I switch over to the Zscaler Experience Center, you'll see it looks a little bit different than the current ZIA console, and that's because this encompasses all of the Zscaler solutions that we have. You'll see things like cybersecurity, data protection, digital experience monitoring, and the like, but today we're interested in SSL inspection specifically. If you go to Policies and click on Common Configuration here, you'll see that there is a section here for SSL/TLS inspection. And I'm going to click on SSL TLS inspection policy. Now this page should look familiar, at least some of the rules, because they mimic exactly the rules that we have here in the current ZIA console, but within Experience Center, you'll see the same rules here. So I still have that rule here that says inspect non-Office 365 file shares, inspect some Office 365 traffic, and if I click View, you'll see the same thing, the same URL categories, the same cloud applications, the same policy to inspect that encrypted traffic and use the Zscaler Intermediate CA certificate here. So that's where you would find the SSL/TLS inspection policy within Experience Center. And I did mention there are two places to look for SSL inspection policies. The second place you're going to want to look, I'm going to switch back to the current ZIA console, is under Administration and then Location Management. For every location that's created within the ZIA console, you can assign it to a group. And these groups can include things like IoT traffic, extranet traffic, corporate users, guest Wi-Fi traffic would be another one. So if I click on, let's choose a Columbus office here. I'm going to click on the Columbus office to view. And I can see that the dynamic location group that this belongs to is corporate user traffic group. So I'm going to close out of this and switch over to the next tab here, which is location groups. And I can see exactly that corporate user traffic group. And I can see that there's 8 locations and sublocations in this location group. Now, why does any of this matter, and how does this relate to SSL and TLS inspection? Well, most organizations have policies that say, well, I want to inspect corporate user traffic because they have Zscaler Client Connector installed on their device, or I have installed the certificate on the device so I can inspect that traffic. So I want to create a rule that says I want to be able to inspect all that corporate user traffic. The same cannot be said for things like guest Wi-Fi traffic or IoT type traffic, where it's probably not likely that Client Connector or the Zscaler certificate is installed on one of these devices. So you may not want to do TLS or SSL inspection for these location groups. Going back to Policy and SSL inspection, you can actually see that there is specific criteria for location group when you want to apply an SSL inspection policy. So if I scroll down here to rule 17, I can see I have a policy here that applies to a single location, which is the Texas office. But I could also just as easily put a location group here that says for all corporate user traffic, what I want to do, I want to inspect that traffic. Or I could say for those location groups for IoT or guest Wi-Fi traffic, do not inspect that traffic, but still evaluate other policies. So those are some of the policy options you can set based on location groups or specific locations. Now, I demonstrated this in the current ZIA console. I'm going to switch back to the Experience Center to show you exactly where you can find that. If you go to the top bar here and you go to Infrastructure, you'll see this Locations button here right in the middle. Click on that. And you can see Locations and Location Groups. So those are the two things that I covered in the current ZIA console. I'm going to click on Locations. And you'll see those exact locations that we saw on the current ZIA portal tab. You can see Columbus offices here. If I click on that just to view it, you can see that the dynamic location group is corporate user traffic group. And same thing, if I go over to the tab here on the left, location groups, you'll still see those same location groups, things like corporate user traffic group with those 8 locations and sublocations, guest Wi-Fi, IoT traffic, and the like. And if I switch back to policies, under common configuration, SSL and TLS inspection, SSL/TLS inspection policy, you can see the same thing here, where if I go to the Texas location a little bit further down, you can see that you have the location as one of the criteria, or you can select location group. So I could apply the same policy here that says for corporate user traffic, I want to inspect that traffic, or for IoT or guest Wi-Fi traffic, my action is going to be do not inspect, but still evaluate other policies. So in conclusion, we've covered where you can find SSL and TLS inspection policies, both in the current ZIA console as well as Experience Center. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, have a nice day.